I think one of my least favorite things about how intrusive and hyper personalized the internet has become is the way websites use targeted advertising to confront you with your mistakes. Recently, I saw the Masters of the Universe movie. I liked it. I liked it a lot. And a few days after I saw it, in a moment of weakness, I searched Amazon for replica He-Man swords. Okay? I admit it. I did that. I'm not proud of it, but I did it. I shopped on Amazon. I shop on Amazon! I know they're evil, but fuck, everybody's evil. And they're not as easy to avoid as Target or Chick-fil-A or Hobby Lobby. You know what? Judge me all you want for shopping on Amazon, because I judge all you motherfuckers who still shop at Hobby Lobby right back. No excuse. Especially when I bet your town has a Michael's not far away, doesn't it? Also, the chicken at Burger King is better than what they've got at Chick-fil-A. And there's probably not a line. Why are you waiting in line for a homophobia sandwich and you side-eye me for shopping at Amazon when they've got free shipping? I did not buy a replica He-Man sword, but I looked at a couple of different ones. A little while after that, I was on Amazon for something else, and I noticed that one of those little sponsored ads that they run in the recommended row on the homepage was for like a leather sword carrier, not a scabbard exactly, but like a sword holster, I guess. Because I searched for a He-Man sword once, and Amazon's algorithm thought, oh, he must be a fucking sword dork. I'm not a sword dork. Sword dorks are some of the biggest dorks there are. And no disrespect to any of you who happens to be one, but I am not one, okay? And I resent being marketed to as though I was. Even if I had bought the replica He-Man sword, that wouldn't make me a sword dork, because there aren't any other swords I'm interested in. And I know right now, some of you are thinking, you're a Trekkie though, wouldn't you like to have a batleth? I'd burn this house down before I allowed a batleth inside of it. Batleths ain't shit next to He-Man's sword. Ain't no other sword worth a shit compared to He-Man's sword. What other sword in fiction, history, or myth can a person raise over their head, say some magic words, and then the sword turns them into an invincible superhero, and then, if they want to, the person who's been transformed into a superhero has the option of pointing the sword at their cat, and it turns the cat into a superhero too. What other sword does anything like that? Actually, She-Ra's sword also does exactly that. And in the original cartoon, She-Ra's sword looks just like He-Man's sword, only hers has that jewel in the middle of the blade that shows her things. So she can use the sword to fight people and watch TV on it. Plus, She-Ra's sword can change shape and become like a shield or a rope. And He-Man's sword can't do that. Is She-Ra's sword better? The point is, I wasn't searching for replica He-Man swords because I'm a sword dork. I was searching for replica He-Man swords because I'm a He-Man dork. And like, how hard is that to figure out? For the last 20 years, I keep hearing about how Amazon and Google and all these inescapable corporations are monitoring us every moment we're online and listening to us through our phones and collecting all our data and selling it to other companies so they can use it to market their products to us with unsettling precision. And after all this time, Amazon still thinks when I searched for a He-Man sword, it was the sword part that I was interested in, not the He-Man part. After I went to see the new Masters of the Universe movie twice in theaters, with tickets I purchased on my phone, and rewatched the 1987 Masters of the Universe movie on YouTube, and watched a bunch of the old cartoon episodes on YouTube. Is this shit really that hard to figure out? Oh, looks like Steve's searching for He-Man swords. I guess he's suddenly into swords now? Does my algorithm even know who I am? But the bitterest pill to swallow here is, who do I ultimately have to blame? Me. I brought this on myself. It's like I'm the dad from that 1980s anti-drug commercial and my phone is the kid and I'm holding up that sword holster ad going, who taught you how to do this stuff? And the phone is tearfully shouting back, you, all right? I learned it from watching you. I searched for a replica He-Man sword. And now I have to live with the consequences. I have to accept that, for the next little while at least, I will be confronted with that mistake when I least expect it, reminded of that moment of weakness or perhaps madness, when I fondly recalled what a nice job the prop department on the new movie did creating a real-life version of He-Man's sword, and gazed at an empty space on my wall and thought, I wonder. You've got to be on your guard all the time. Do I really want to type this into a search bar? The question you should be asking is, do I really want to be reminded that I typed this into a search bar on a recurring basis for the next few months? When I was coming of age at the dawn of the internet era, the warning was, don't put anything online that you don't want to be there forever. Good advice, sure, but the addendum to that advice needs to be, don't ask any question or research any topic or shop for any product online that you don't want to be occasionally shoved back in your face so you never forget what a weird, shallow, easily distracted dipshit you are. I'm scrolling through Facebook or Instagram, hoping to find someone I disliked in high school sharing bad news about their health or family, like a normal, decent person. And all of a sudden, the algorithm's like, remember when you looked up what mouth tape was? Of course I remember! It was the low point of my life! Let me forget! I want to forget! It's like having a one-night stand with a stranger and then unexpectedly seeing that person again. No. You know what? You know what it's like? It's like almost having a one-night stand with a stranger. You go back to their place, or maybe to a hotel room, things start to happen, but then they go to the bathroom to freshen up, and you're sitting there alone, and you think, what am I doing? This isn't me. I can't do this. And you make an excuse and rush out feeling embarrassed and humiliated and worried that you hurt their feelings, but also glad that you didn't go through with it and relieved that at least the two of you don't actually know each other, so you'll never have to see them again. And then the next day you run into them at the grocery store and they try to sell you a sword holster. That's not a perfect analogy. To really be like Amazon showing me that sword holster ad, my would-be one-night stand partner would have to turn up at the grocery store on purpose because they've been stalking me, I guess. The thing is, I don't attribute that sort of malicious motivation to the targeted ads algorithm. It's not evil. The company that uses it is evil, but the algorithm itself is just doing what it's designed to do. It's not conscious. It has no intention. It doesn't know that it's the digital equivalent of the world's most incompetent concierge. It's doing what it's supposed to do. And the fact that it's not very good at it isn't the algorithm's fault. It's the fault of the people who designed it, and the fault of the people who oversell it and overpromise on its capabilities. If I kept that in mind more often, I'd be more careful about what I search for on Amazon and Google and the rest of it. But even after all this time, all the years I've been on the internet, as many times as I've thought about algorithms and targeted ads, I did a video about targeted ads before this one last year, so the topic has obviously been on my mind. I still forget how terrible these algorithms often are at their one fucking job. An online advertising algorithm is meant to be a modern digital version of the shop owner or the salesperson who pays attention and knows your taste and suggests things they think you'll like. You're a regular customer. The salesperson knows you, and when you walk in, they've got something behind the counter they are positive you're going to love. And they're right, because they, like you, are a human being. And they haven't just been keeping a list of products you've purchased, they've observed you, come to understand how your shopping preferences reflect your personality. Yes, there's still something inescapably predatory and transactional about that. Their job is to convince you to exchange some of that money in your pocket for whatever that is they've got for you behind the counter. But at least there's some humanity involved in making that transaction happen. That's what the creators of these kinds of algorithms are attempting to replicate. Only instead of an attentive and discerning digital salesperson, they've built a ruthlessly goal-oriented sci-fi robot who doesn't actually know anything about you other than the shit you search for, which in my case is frequently completely arbitrary, just stray thoughts, shit I'm momentarily curious about and immediately start Googling because my smartphone has completely robbed me of my ability to differentiate between idle curiosity and shit that I actually care about. And the sci-fi robot is like, you just searched for bookshelves. Perhaps you'd like to buy one of these 20 random, completely unrelated books? You seem like someone who would enjoy the large print edition of Tai Chi for seniors over 60. Imagine Forbidden Planet if, after he synthesized 60 gallons of genuine Kansas City bourbon for Cookie, Robbie the Robot came back the next day with 1,000 starting lineup action figures of George Brett. Like, would you also be interested in these Kansas City related items? Cookie don't care about the Kansas City part. Cookie cares about the booze. That's me. I care about the booze. Only my booze is a syndicated cartoon series produced to sell toys when I was a child, and my Kansas City is swords. And my Robbie is a For You ad on a shopping app. Isn't that the perfect summation of how disappointing the present day we have is compared to the future we were told was coming when we were kids? Keep your jetpacks and your flying cars. They promised me Robbie the Robot, and they gave me a bunch of websites that have been gathering intel on me for over half my life and still have no clue who I am or what I want. I have no clue who I am or what I want either, but I haven't been paying attention.